Mr. Chairman.
Senator Nielsen.
Was here. May I ask a question about AB 2?
Very quickly, because we have a long agenda.
Senator Maleo, just a point I'd like to make as AB 2 is dealt with on suspense. As I read it now, there are no provisions in there that limit or restrict eminent domain, the designation of blight, or the accrual of these vast reserves which occurred. It seemed like it's trying to remake the former model that it was in some areas successful, but in many areas not. The governor decided it needed to go, and it went. The legislature voted for that about 4 years ago. My point is, I'm going to need to see some changes in there that would relate to the eminent domain seizure of private property and the accrual of those vast reserves, that cannot happen prospectively. It's a little bit of control that we did not have before, so I'm going to have to oppose it if it comes off suspense at this point without amendments.
Mr. Nielsen, I look forward to maybe having a one-on-one with you about the bill.
Yes, sir.
But we've done a lot of work. This is my third year actually working on this bill. Yes. We reached a lot of consensus and addressed a lot of concerns, but this bill is targeted to the true intent of redevelopment, which is the high poverty, high unemployment, high crime areas of the state. But we added a lot of safeguards that weren't included in the form of redevelopment, including the one most powerful is that the public has a right to have a referendum to stop any activity if they're not meeting the needs or if they were abusing eminent domain or not fulfilling the goals that they set in their plan. They could be put up for referendum and activity be completely halted. That is the most, I think that safeguard will avoid or prevent any potential abuses.
Okay,
Thank you.
That's constructive, and I'll be happy to talk with Don.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Najo. We're going to move forward with Senator Ting, following the agenda. Mr. Ting, you have a couple items. You're waiving presentation on AB 861 and 1321, is that correct?
Right. Yes.
Thank you. And your first item with the due pass recommendation is AB 154.
Perfect. AB 154 is our federal tax conformity bill. It's a bill that makes sure that our state laws are in line with federal tax laws in 12 instances. We haven't had a tax conformity bill over the last 5 years. There will be a slight revenue increase from this, basically just to put us further in compliance with federal laws. And we have support from both sides of the aisle, and respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Witnesses in support.
Good morning, Teresa May with the California Taxpayers Association. First of all, we'd like to thank Assemblymember Ting for bringing forward this very important bill. As he mentioned, we have not had conformity for the last 5 years. And conformity benefits not just taxpayers, but it also benefits businesses and the state in the sense that it saves taxpayer money. When there's noncompliance, taxpayers often make mistakes, and the Franchise Tax Board cites conformity as the leading cause for taxpayer noncompliance and mistakes. When these mistakes are not discovered until 5 years later, taxpayers end up paying penalties and interest that go back 5 years and oftentimes outweigh the tax liability itself. For businesses, this bill saves money because it alleviates the need for businesses to keep two separate sets of books, one to comply with state law and the other to comply with federal law. The Franchise Tax Board also saves state general fund money because this bill would allow them to look at the federal returns and look at audit exceptions and use that as a basis for administration and audit. The last thing I'd like to mention on this bill is this bill has bipartisan support. It was approved in the Assembly on a 75-0 vote. As it is supported by the business community, we strongly urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Being minor for HB and PayPal, also in support.
Additional witnesses in support.
Good morning, Chair and members. Ken Vorth, the National Federation of Independent Business, and strong support. Thank you.
Yolanda Benson, representing the California Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce, also in support.
Jennifer Tannehill with Aaron Reed and Associates on behalf of the California Society of Enrolled Agents. We are also in support of the bill. It's conformity is a priority for us, and it eases the administration of the tax code and therefore has better compliance results. So we thank you for your support.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support. Witnesses in opposition. Finance.
We're neutral on this bill. We think that it represents a balanced approach to achieving conformity with the majority of the federal tax law changes that have occurred since January 1, 2009. The Franchise Tax Board estimates that there will be a net general fund tax revenue of $3 million in 2015-16, $7.8 million in 2016-17, and $14 million in 2017-18.
Thank you. Comments or questions from committee? Mr. Ting, would you like to close?
Respectfully ask for a vote.
Thank you. There's a motion by Senator Hill. Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is due pass to the Senate floor. Laura?
Aye.
Laura, aye. Bates? Bell? Bell, aye. Hill? Aye. Hill, aye. Leyva? Leyva, aye. Mendoza? Mendoza, aye. Nielsen?
Abstain.
5-0, that item is out. Next item that has a do-pass recommendation is AB 1397. Mr. Ting, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. AB 1397 is our community college accreditation transparency bill. We have an accreditor, unfortunately, throughout the state that has been acting as a star chamber, very closed and private organization. These laws are just trying to make sure that we are asking them to act a little bit more like any public agency, such as any open space advisory committee, any of our cities, having minutes published, having more public commentary at these meetings, as well as making sure that community colleges who do get put on penalty actually have a right to appeal. With that, I have Megan Brightwell representing CFT to testify in favor.
Thank you. Witnesses in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Megan Brightwell on behalf of the California Federation of Teachers. Sticking to the fiscal, the state continues to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in the community college system in California. We believe these are modest reforms to ensure that our schools remain credible in California. We agree with the staff analysis that there's no direct cost to the state, and we respectfully ask for your aye vote when the time comes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Jeremy Smith here on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. Most state-approved apprenticeship programs need to align themselves with a community college, or at least an LEA. Usually it's community colleges. We want to make sure those colleges are accredited properly so that our apprentices can get the education they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Mitch Seaman with the California Labor Federation, also in support.
Thank you. Witnesses in opposition, please come forward. Seeing none, finance.
We don't see any direct costs to this bill, and we think that any kind of downstream workload for the Chancellor's office would be minor and absorbable.
Thank you. Comments or questions from committee? Senator Nielsen.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Bell and I have been extensively dealing with this issue for several years. And that Federal Accrediting Commission certainly appears to us, and an audit that we requested that was completed confirmed the suspicions of how this agency was arbitrarily acting in California and also in other states, but we're focused on California. I've dealt with a lot of arrogant agencies in my years, a lot, but I've never dealt with one more arrogant than this one. And not only arrogant to the colleges, how they dealt with them, but how they chose to deal with Senator Bell and I. Now, you don't take that as a personal affront necessarily. We're used to arrogance. But that arrogance does not serve the people of California whose children and students, adult students, attend our community colleges. And they do not profit by an unfair and arbitrary way of administering and accrediting. And so there, and again, I referenced that study that was done at the request of Senator Bell and I, and we review that as we look at this bill moving forward. But the agency does need to change how it does business. This is a signal in that direction that we are going to act in California for our community colleges.
Thank you. Senator Bates.
I had a concern raised regarding whether this could put federal funds at risk, and perhaps those who have been, more involved in it could answer that. I think I would lay off today till I have a certainty on that, but I'd like you to address that.
We'll have him address that in his close. Thank you, Senator Bates. Senator Bell.
I think the idea that an accreditation agency that accredits hundreds of community colleges where the state of California is spending billions of dollars supporting, and having elected bodies in each one of those we all have open laws. We all have the process where there's an appeal process and so forth. They have none of that. So I think the idea that we kind of shed some light on this is really the first step to cleaning this mess up, where they can do anything like sanction community colleges where tens of thousands of community college students have lost opportunities to get their community college degrees and all of a sudden have their lives affected in a negative way. So I think this is a very important issue that we address. I applaud the author. This is the first step. We need to do a lot more with the accreditation process for our community colleges. The federal and state laws, I think the idea that we have an appeal process, I think that's the one technical issue. I think there's no question that we can require openness and accountability standards that this bill suggests, and I fully support this bill.
Thank you. No further questions. Mr. Ting, would you like to close?
Thank you, Senator. Just to answer Senator Bates's question, the U.S. Department of Ed pointed out that they had issues with 2 out of the 12 provisions. So obviously, the bulk of the bill they have no issues with. We disagree with their initial analysis. We're in discussions with them to make sure we iron that out. Again, all these provisions, if you look at them, are really about openness and transparency. It doesn't stop the accrediting commission from sanctioning, doesn't disallow them from meeting in private when they need to. Again, it creates a little bit more openness so that when we have our precious community colleges and they're threatened, that we have an opportunity to speak in public, that we have an opportunity to hear them deliberate in public, which is really all we ask of any public agency. And with that, I have respectfully asked for a vote.
Thank you. Senator Hill moves, there's a motion by Senator Hill. Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is due pass to the Senate floor. Laura?
Aye.
Laura, aye. Bates?
Abstain.
Bell? Aye. Bell, aye. Hill? Aye. Hill, aye. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mendoza? Aye. Mendoza, aye. Nielsen? Aye. Nielsen, aye.
6-0, this measure's out. Thank you, Mr. Ting. Next, we have Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier, you have 2 items. You're waiving presentation on AB 194, is that correct?
That is correct.
Great, so we will hear members AB 1369, which is a candidate for suspense. Mr. Frazier, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senators. AB 1369 seeks to ensure that our schools offer students with dyslexia the appropriate remediation before they fall behind in their academic achievement. The International Dyslexia Association estimates that as many as 15 to 20% of the population has some of the symptoms of dyslexia, including slow or inaccurate reading, poor spelling, poor writing, or mixing up similar words. I respectfully ask for your support when taking up the suspense file on behalf of the 5,500 parents statewide who voiced their strong support for giving dyslexic students the remediation that 2 decades of research has shown to be what they need. Testifying in support of the bill is Dr. Kelly Sandman Hurley with the Dyslexia Training Institute and Kathy Futterman.
Thank you. Thank you. Witnesses in support.
Thank you. My name is Kelly Sandman Hurley with the Dyslexia Training Institute, and I'm here in support of AB 1369. For the past 30 years, schools have failed repeatedly to teach students with dyslexia to read and write adequately. In fact, the 2014-2015 California Special Education statistics show that students who are identified with a learning disability such as dyslexia get identified late and rarely graduate out of special education. This is actually inappropriate for a student with dyslexia. If a student with dyslexia is identified early and receives the appropriate intervention, they should not spend more than 3 years in special education and graduate out with the decent reading and spelling abilities that they are quite intellectually capable of achieving. Right now, the current process is a wait-to-fail model, which does not jive with the research. Currently, IEP teams do not have the information they need to make the eligibility determinations for students with dyslexia, which is why we're requesting the phonological processing deficit to be included as an area of eligibility. Phonological processing is a hallmark of reading disabilities. It's currently rarely used to determine eligibility for students with dyslexia. The passing of AB 1369 would help identify students with dyslexia sooner, provide them with an appropriate intervention, and would only require them to be in special education for a finite period of time instead of an infinite period of time. And this would obviously positively impact special education funding.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support.
Hi, I'm Kathy Futterman. I'm adjunct faculty at Cal State East Bay in the Departments of Educational Psychology and in teacher education. And one of the key problems facing public education today is the need for early and accurate identification, assessment, and remediation of students with dyslexia. However, only 17% of students with dyslexia have been identified for special education services, leaving approximately 83% unidentified, close to 1 million students we're talking about, at risk for school failure. It has been estimated that 80% of all students with a specific learning disability have dyslexia, making it the single largest disability population in our state. Catherine Christo, who's a professor emeritus at Cal State Sacramento and co-author of the book, Identifying, Assessing, and Treating Dyslexia in Schools, former board member and political action chair of the California Association of School Psychologists, wrote a letter in support of AB 1369 to this committee, I have it right here, stating that CASP is concerned with addressing dyslexia specifically as it is one of many disabilities for which schools are mandated to evaluate. Given that it is the most common disability, she does not share this concern. CASP is also concerned with including phonological processing, as it would exceed what federal law requires. It is important to note, she says, that California regulations already identify specific psychological processes that are not part of the federal law. In fact, federal regulations require that a state must adopt criteria to determine a specific learning disability, including dyslexia. So by including those two words, phonological processing, in California's Ed Code, this bill, AB 1369, would ensure that school psychologists look for the possibility of dyslexia. If California public schools properly engage in a comprehensive response to intervention model, it has been estimated that the number of children who are typically identified as poor readers and served through either special education or compensatory education programs could be reduced by up to 70% through early identification and prevention programs, which will ultimately provide significant financial savings to the state of California. Today's educators, administrators, SELPA directors, and school psychologists need to know how to identify, assess, and remediate students with dyslexia. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support.
Hi, my name is Lori DePole. I'm from Diablo, California. I'm a volunteer dyslexia tutor working with low-income foster children, and I support AB 1369. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Christine Matheny from Aptos, California. I'm dyslexic. My son is severely dyslexic, and I support AB 1369.
Hi, my name is Max Matheny. I'm severely dyslexic, and I support this bill.
Hello, good morning. My name is Raquel Otis. I live in Byron. My husband and my daughter, Trinity, are both severely dyslexic, and I support AB 1369. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Torres. I'm from Brentwood, California. My daughter Ava is severely dyslexic, and I support AB 1369.
My name is Patty Stowe, and I'm from the other side of California, Bishop, and I have 4 dyslexic grandkids, and I'm a retired special ed aide, and we never identified dyslexia, and we never helped our kids, and I support AB 1369.
My name is Elena Childs, and I'm from Colville, California. I'm a dyslexia tutor, and I'm a parent. I'm a public school teacher, and my husband's a public school principal, and I have 3 children with dyslexia. I support AB 1369.
Hi, my name is Cyrus Childs, and I live in Colville, California, and I support AB 1369.
Thanks for coming, buddy.
Hi, my name is Rena Childs. I have dyslexia, and I support AB 1369.
I am Angelica Childs. I'm from Colville, California. I have dyslexia, and I support AB 1369.
I'm Camille Childs, and I'm from Colville, California, and I have siblings who have dyslexia. I support AB 1369.
Hi, my name is Victor Childs, and I support this bill.
I'm Martha Bruder from San Francisco. I support this bill.
Hi, I'm Jeff Tackett. I'm from Upland, California. I'm dyslexic, and so is my daughter, and I support this bill.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Tanner. I'm from Carlsbad. I'm dyslexic, and I support this bill. This is my daughter, Olivia. She is also dyslexic. She also supports the bill. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Scott Caswell, and this is Lucy Tanner, and she is dyslexic, and we are both in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Debbie Marcus, and I live in Sacramento, and my son attends Elk Grove School District, and he has dyslexia. He entered 9th grade with only 1st grade reading level. I am in strong support of AB 1369.
Hi, my name is Heather Helfer. I'm from Alamo, California. I have a daughter who's dyslexic. Please support AB 1369.
My name's Reagan Helfer. I live in Alamo, California. I am dyslexic, and I support AB 1369. Hello, my name is Dylan. I'm severely dyslexic. I support this bill.
Hi, my name is Madison, and this is Maddox, and he's severely dyslexic, and so am I, and we support the bill.
My name is Toby Meyer. I'm from Northern California, Brentwood, and I am the lead legislative member of Decoding Dyslexia California, the sponsor of this bill. I am the wife and the mother of a dyslexic, and I support this bill.
Good morning. My name is Sean Riggins. I'm the director of the local conservation corps in Fresno, California. I was not aware that this bill was up today, but I definitely support it, as a lot of the young people in my program are afflicted with dyslexia. So please urge your support.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Vargas. I'm from Modesto, California. I have dyslexic children and a dyslexic husband. I support AB 1369. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Giovanna Veras, and I am a dyslexic student, and I support AB 1369.
Good morning. John Lovell with the California College and University Police Chiefs Association and the California Narcotic Officers Association. This is not only good public policy, it's smart public safety policy.
Thank you. Any witnesses in opposition of the measure, please come forward.
Hello, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Anjanette Pelletier. I'm a current self-administrator, an LEP, and a school psychologist. I represent the Self-Administrators of California. We are the association that represents special education local plan areas across California that would be responsible for the implementation and eventual outcomes of this bill in schools. The Self-Administrators of California oppose AB 1369 as it is an unfunded mandate unique to California in excess of federal regulations that would have substantial costs for California school districts. As requested earlier, I will refrain from policy discussions, but we would like to highlight the significant local costs that will negatively impact school districts that are referenced in the analysis. We anticipate increased requests for psychoeducational assessments. These assessments can take 25 to 40 hours, and the costs are time, materials, and personnel costs. We also anticipate a dramatic increase in the costs for responding to requests for independent educational evaluations, or IEEs, which can cost between $1,500 and $5,000 each on average. Lastly, we anticipate an increase in due process filings as parents request specific methodologies, treatments, and/or placements for their students. Due process hearings are rarely resolved for less than $15,000, and longer, more complicated hearings can easily cost well over $75,000 each. As this bill would expand California requirements beyond federal requirements, we believe that the cost could be considered reimbursable under Proposition 98. So we agree with the analysis in this area. For these reasons, the Self-Administrators of California continue to oppose this bill.
Thank you. Any additional witnesses in opposition of the measure? Seeing none, questions from committee? I'm sorry, Finance.
The Department of Finance is opposed to this bill. We believe that the guidelines required by the bill undermine the current IEP plan team process used to develop special education plans for a child that is eligible for special education services pursuant to federal law. The teams already include regular and special education teachers, parents, school administrators, educational professionals, and specialists with expertise in specific disabilities, and are reviewed annually. We believe that federal law provides the teams with the necessary flexibility to determine how to best assess and provide special education services to children and to assess all of their needs at once. Additionally, the bill creates ongoing non-Proposition 98 general fund costs of $130,000 for the Department of Education to develop and disseminate new program guidelines and provide increased technical assistance for this bill.
Thank you. Comments or questions from committee? Senator Bell.
Just point out a couple things. First of all, in my request and the request of, I think about 9 senators and some assembly members, we're actually doing an audit of the SELPAs right now. It's going to be finished at the end of the year, so we hope to look at reforming that process and make it more what I call family friendly. It's not really family friendly at all. It's very confrontational and takes a lot of time and effort. And I think it, how would you say, creates disparities on an ethnic and racial level because of some families not having access to advocacy in the SELPA process. So I think we need to reform the SELPA process and advocacy for children that are receiving services. The other thing I'd like to point out is that for early prevention does moderate dyslexia, and it saves the taxpayer money by reducing the cost of the special education. I think that's the intent of the bill. And so I'd like to stand in favor of the bill. I'm very aware of the process for dealing with special ed. It will save money. It will reduce the cost of lifelong learning cost of people that have dyslexia. A lot of dyslexia, as we heard, has been diagnosed or found out later. I think somebody testified 9th grade. I mean, that's literally obscene. I mean, you know, to have a student not get help until the 9th grade is ridiculous. We should find them before they go to school. And I think this bill will help in many ways doing that. So I just want to point out those things and urge support for the bill.
Thank you. Additional comments or questions from committee? Seeing none, I just want to again thank the families who were waiting for today's hearing. Welcome to the State Senate, especially the young ones who have been very well behaved. Thank you for being here. Mr. Frazier, would you like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Senator Bell had said, how can we not provide a path of success for all children in California? Anybody that opposes this bill, after the 20 years that this has been approved, is a roadblock to success for these children. As the Senator said, 9th grade and only having a 1st grade reading level, that's absolutely irresponsible. I stand here asking this committee to support all these children in California, the 20% that are in school now. But if we can get to them earlier, that we will save the state money. We do it with the autism. We have the early intervention program, and it is very successful in mainstreaming these children. This is an opportunity to make a wrong right, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frazier. Without objection, we'll move this item to suspense file on the court.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say I enjoyed my vacation this year in the Colville area, so I just want to say so really lovely, and I stand in favor of people taking their vacation in the Colville. The Walker Barbecue restaurant is wonderful.
Thank you, Mr. Frazier, and thank you for the Colville plug.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will have Senator DeBobne.